That's a bit difficult.
I know.
Does anybody know good morning in Welsh?
Good morning.
Yeah, good morning. I like that. Bore da. Bore da. So I'm from Wales originally. I do have some traditional cakes from Wales with me. They're called Welsh cakes. And for those of you who participate and ask questions and shout things out, there will be a Welsh cake for you. Okay? So that's your incentive to get involved. The first thing is, if you haven't already, have a look at joining this session at Slido. I will be doing just one or two polls to ask questions of you. So if you just take a moment to join this session at slido.com and to put in the code IBTM World. And if it asks, will it ask for a theatre number? So we're in Theatre 2. Okay, so I'll just give you some time to download that. It's not the only way to get involved, as you'll find out, but it's one way. So let's go to the presentation. So today we are going to focus on how to find your purpose. How to find your purpose. My name is Ken Kelling. I am both a director at a communications agency called Davis Tanner, and that's my phone going, by the way. I should say, switch off your phones, but it's mine. I'm a director at a communications agency called Davis Tanner. We work in the field of events and the events industry. I'm also a coach. And my passion and what I'm interested in is purpose, what drives us, what motivates us, what's the why of what we do. And I'm guessing that you're interested in the same thing because you've come today perhaps for a reason. But we'll come on to that. What I hear a lot in the work that I do in the events industry is people increasingly talk about an event. It needs to be engaging. It needs to have engagement. It needs to mean something to people. I also hear a lot, particularly does anyone here from an association? No. Where are all the associations? They've gone home. They've gone home early. Particularly in the world of associations, we hear a lot about the legacy of an event. So it's not just about holding an event, it's what's the impact of that event? What's the impact on the local community? What's the impact on the field of research or academia? So people are very, very interested now, not just in holding an event, but what's the impact of that event? But I think there's less about this third one, which is us. What about us? What about our purpose? What about how we work? What does work mean to us? I was walking down here and I saw, I think it's on the side of the Cvent stand. There's a quote from Steve Jobs of Apple. And he says, "You can't do great work if you don't love what you do." You can't do great work if you don't love what you do. Just over there, on the side. Who agrees with that? Perfect. Who loves what they do? That's not bad. That's not bad. There was a whole session yesterday about managing stress in the events industry, which was great. Who feels stressed?
In general or right now?
Did you hear that? In general or right now? Let's start with in general. I'm asking the question. In general? Who feels stressed in general? Okay. Who feels stressed right now? Right now? 2 right now. Okay. We'll work on that. Great. So you're all in this room because even though a lot of events are now talking about engagement and being purposeful, I don't think we're all living as purposefully as we would like, perhaps. So that's what we're going to explore today. So let's do a quick first poll. I am curious, because I'll be honest, there is way more of you in this room than I was expecting. Way more. I thought it might be 3 people. Okay? So because I don't know how important this is to everyone here. Let's do a poll. Why did you come here today? And what I'm going to ask you to do is just 3 words maximum. You look like you have a question. Yep. IBTM World. So it should be hashtag IBTM World. Okay? Code is IBTM World. Lecture Theatre 2. Why did you come here today in no more than 3 words? To find inspiration and curiosity so far? So just up to 3 words. Destiny brought me. Excellent. You've predicted my second question. Inspiration is getting a lot. Looking for a job. Okay, who's looking for the job? Down here. Okay, everyone in the room, this person is looking for a job. Please have a conversation with this person. She's looking for work. You're looking for a job? 2 people looking for work. Okay, excellent. Mingle afterwards. If you have an opening and an opportunity, talk to these 2 people. Excellent. Right. Inspiration, empower myself, help coach. This is brilliant. A lot of inspiration. 2 finding a job. Curiosity, curious. Future empire. Who's the future empire? Fantastic. What's your empire going to be? You're trying to discover what your future. You know that you want world domination. Yep. But you just don't know what yet. Okay, so what's going to happen is the 2 people looking for a job are going to bring their skills to you. You're going to build an empire together, and then you're going to employ everybody else who's here. That's what's going to happen, okay? Stress reliever. Yep. Bit of stress in the room together. Right, I've got to move this on. Let me ask you a second question, okay? If you were all to leave this room, and walk out of here, and something has changed in your life, okay? Something happens in this room, something changes your life when you leave. Okay, just think about that for a moment. When you leave here, some part of it, maybe it's a job, something happens that changes your life. Okay, just think about that. And you remember back to Barcelona, you remember Lecture Theatre 2, something started for me in that room. Just imagine that, okay? So I'm going to ask a second poll. Okay? So if that's true, or if that was to be true, why did you really come here today? 3 words. That's clear. Wasn't even you. Let me ask you, can I come back to your empire? Just tell me a little bit more about what your idea for an empire is.
I've only been in the industry for 2 years, and so right now it's kind of like stained glass, and I'm trying to figure out what that whole is going to be.
Wow, okay. So, I'm sorry, what was your name?
Jillian.
Gillian. So Gillian wants to build an empire. She's 2 years in the events industry. She's formulating what that empire is going to look like, but it's going to be around dialogue, communication, articulating arguments, I think was your last thing. So there's a whole room full of people who you could maybe have a discussion with about that. Okay? So Gillian is here because there's something emerging for her. There's something developing, so she's curious, she's looking for stuff, she's looking for inspiration. Let's have a look. Kick. Not sure about kick. What's the kick thing? Who's kick? Or is that split up 2 words? Not sure what kick is. Okay, brilliant, thank you. Those are the only polls I'm going to do. The rest I'm going to do by you shouting out and asking questions, okay? So we'll move on. School task. Who's the school task? Is that you guys? No. What's the school task? Oh, I can't speak now. Oh, it's a bit embarrassing. What's the school task? Point at the school task. It was you. Your students. Okay. Well, you're welcome. So we're going to start with the most important question today. The most important question that we're going to have. Who watches Friends? Excellent. Okay, this is the first Welsh cake session. And it's also going to test something I didn't know is internationally, are the character names all the same? Oh, this is exciting. Right, okay. So, first shout out, who's the person on the left? Oh, who said that? Oh, that's very good. Right. Monica Geller. Right. Who's the next person along? Chandler Bing, I heard over there. Surname gets you a prize. Next person in the middle. Everybody knows that one. Rachel Green. Whoa. That's going to help with the stress relief. Okay, and next to Rachel is... You've got some already. You're very good, but you've got some already. Somebody else. You can take them. I like that. I like that. That's good. And then the male, next one. Joey Tribbiani, part of the school task. And finally, Phoebe Buffet. Oh, you've done already. Who said Phoebe Buffet? This is going to help with looking for a job. Give you energy. Right. I've done that for 2 reasons. One, to get you warmed up. And shouting. What you're going to see is the slides that are colored gold, they're a reminder for me that I want you to take part. So when you see a gold slide, you can get worried. Okay? So, I've got a couple of references to Friends later on, but I wanted to make sure that you all knew who these people are, and you do. Great. Let's get on to the real stuff. So today, we are going to talk about what is purpose, why does it matter, how do I find it, and we've got some exercises, which we may or may not have time for, we'll see, but I will send these to you. These are things that you can do now or things that you can do when you leave. So, let's get to a dictionary definition of purpose. This is how it's defined, at least in the English dictionary. The reason for which something is done or created or for which something exists. That's boring, isn't it? Because in reality, it's a much deeper feeling for us, isn't it? It's something that's very personal. I don't imagine 2 people believe they have the same purpose. And this is something that we need to explore for ourselves, because only ourselves are going to understand what our purpose actually is, or that feeling of what it is. So let's have a go at this. It's a gold slide. What does purpose mean to you?
Do something meaningful.
Do something meaningful. Beautiful. Getting balance in your life. What else? Oh no, Wales has run out of Welsh cakes. Actually, how many slides have I got? Maybe later. Sorry. One more.
Going to work and feeling like I've made a difference.
Lovely. If you didn't hear that, going to work and feeling like I've made a difference. That's beautiful. What's your name? Victoria. Going to work and feeling like I've made a difference. That's going to be a question now. How many people feel that I go to work and I make a difference? Nice. Okay, where do you work, Victoria?
I teach in
You teach?
business school
Great.
here in Barcelona.
Excellent. Okay, and what is it that you make a difference to?
Helping students find their career path or find their voice, being able to articulate, speak up.
Great. Well, you people should definitely speak. Definitely speak. So Victoria teaches at a business school, helps people with their career, helps people to speak up. I love that. Helps people to speak up, makes a difference to them, empowers them. Would you say you empower people?
I'd like to think so.
You empower people. Anyone else? What does purpose mean to you? I have got some left. What does... Say that again?
Help others.
Help others. Definitely. Help others. Anyone else? I'm going to move on. So I put some words together, and these are just things that came up for me. And I put them in the shape of a dog because I love dogs. And I was going to put a picture of my dog up there. But I thought, I wasn't sure how that would go down with the audience. She's called Bailey, and she's a cockapoo, by the way. So yeah, these were some words that come up in the coaching that I do. Fulfillment, satisfaction, why I do what I do. Very hard question to answer because we never ask it. We never ask it of ourselves. It's always about what or how. Hardly ever about why. Values, motivation, satisfaction. So when you look at that dictionary definition, you know, it's really doesn't get to the depth of what purpose feels like and what it actually means. What it actually means is all of these words. And it's complex, and it's not easy, and it's not always something that's easy to define for ourselves. And that's why, because there's all these different emotions. I don't know if has anyone seen this before? Ikigai? Have you found it helpful? So-so. I love this. If you haven't seen this before, look at all the cameras up. All of a sudden, I've never seen that. That's brilliant. You know, typical, beautiful Japanese depth. So they don't just say purpose. They have this whole concept about a reason for being. And again, the complexity of what's here, what the world needs, what you love, what you are good at, what you can be paid for, and how those all interlink, and how they interlink in different ways. It's phenomenally complex and deep, but I think starts to get to a bit more of what purpose actually feels like for us. So why does it matter? I'm going to ask you. Why does it? You have all come today. Why does purpose matter to you? It's a gold slide, everyone. And there are cakes. Look. Why does it matter to you? A reason to get up. Love it. Is that your second lot? There's people getting all the cakes here. Go for it.
If you don't have a purpose, you feel like life is meaningless.
Mm-hmm.
And you feel depressed and sad because you really need something to live for.
If you don't have a purpose, I'm really sorry. I'll tell you what, you take some cakes just to make up for that. If you don't have a purpose, life feels meaningless.
It's hard to be happy without a purpose.
Hard to be happy without a purpose. Great. Thank you. So it's now starting to sound quite important, isn't it? And yet, why do we give it such little attention? When was the last conversation you had with anyone about purpose? Never. Okay, so it's deep, it's complex, it's meaningful, it's what gives life meaning, but we don't talk about it very much. Hi.
You cannot give it any facts and figures.
Love that. Yeah. I love that. You can't give it facts and figures. You know, which is in our industry and here is what we focus on all the time. Facts, figures, ROI, deadlines, clients, whatever it is. Family. Family is, in a what purpose means.
I have to work the whole day, and what about my family? I'm working, I'm thinking about my family the rest of the day.
Yeah, and your family is important. So there you go. So there you go. So family. You know, we focus on all of these things, and we neglect, perhaps, our family, the things that are important to us. Great, thank you. Oh, go for it.
That only 5% of the whole population in the world think about their purpose in life. Is that
I don't know. That's good. I haven't heard that.
about the statistics?
So,
I wanted to ask you.
yeah, I don't know. But there's a suggestion that there is a statistic, which is that only 5% of the population think about their purpose or know
Yes,
or think about their purpose.
Yes.
I'd love to find out the source for that because that's great. So only 5%. Which leads me on to actually thinking about some figures that I've got later. These were some other things, again, that come up. The big one for me is identity. And why, yeah. What does this mean? These are some other words that come up for the question, what does purpose mean to you? Okay, what does purpose mean? So I think purpose is really strongly associated with who we are and how we want to be seen. So our identity is incredibly strong for us. We protect our identity all the time. We want to be seen as the people. I want to get too deep. But identity is a very, very big issue for all of us. Who we want to be.
Do all people know that?
Do all people know this?
Yes. Who they are, who they want.
Well, let's try it.
I think so.
Okay.
I'm not sure.
Okay. Does everybody I love this question. We're going to get existential, okay? Does everybody in the room know who they are?
Working on it.
Working on it. I love that answer. I love that. Were you going to say something?
Yeah, well, something related with identity,
Mhm.
that most of the times we think that work defines us,
Yeah.
and we are much more than work. So
Love that.
many people think that their purpose is related to work, and it doesn't have to be like that.
Love that. So many people think that they are defined by their work, but we are much more than that. Yeah, we are much more than just our job. Love that. Okay, I'm going to move on because you're asking so much great stuff. It's also important because it's hardwired into our brains to look for meaning. You know, this is neurological. Okay, it's not just abstract. This is part of being a human being, is to look for meaning in our lives. I told you we'd come back. Okay, so to final couple of things. So who can tell me, let's start with Monica Geller. Who can tell me some things about her character? Go for it.
She loves to cake, she loves to cook, she's neurotic and funny.
Perfect. If you haven't seen the show, okay, Monica on the left, she loves to clean. She's a bit neurotic. And she's funny. She's also obsessed with food, a little bit. Chandler, anybody? Let's move away from you for a second. Anybody else know anything about Chandler from Friends? It's all the cake people. I'm going to come to you.
Yeah, he's married to Monica later in the show.
Okay, and what about his character?
Well, he's funny.
He's funny? He's sarcastic, isn't he? Yeah. Sarcastic, yeah. Oh no, they've gone. Come and see me afterwards, I'll get you some more, okay? So the point of this is, when you're writing a TV show, you have to have a real strong sense of identity for those characters to be different. So we know these things. Joey is an actor, he loves acting, his whole world is about acting. Phoebe, you may remember, she's vegetarian, she's against animal cruelty. So when you write a TV series, you have to have a real sense of people's character, what they love, what they hate, what they do. So it's not just in our brains neurological, it's what we see all the time in TV, in our culture. People's character, the definition of them, their identity. So it's everywhere. And this was just, do you remember, for all the people who don't like Friends, I'm really sorry, but I did ask at the beginning. So the storyline for Rachel, she started in a cafe, she hated working in the cafe. What she really loved was clothes and fashion. And there's an episode where she eventually gets her ideal job. But the comedy is that when she gets her ideal job, everybody else is having a crisis. So she just stands there going, I've got a new job. How about an assistant buyer? How about an assistant buyer at Ralph Lauren? Would that go for a new job? No. What would be an ideal job?
So definitely within the industry.
Within the events industry. Okay. So not fashion. Events industry. Okay. So everybody has to line up and talk to this person about the job that they want. So identity is everywhere. So these things about purpose are in our culture all the time. Why else does it matter? Well, it matters at work. It absolutely matters at work. Here's some statistics for you. Only 15% of workers worldwide are actively engaged with their work. Actively engaged. Personally, I think it is higher than that in the events industry. I do. I think people love bringing people together. So I think these figures would probably be higher working in events, but also the stress levels of people working in events is higher. Does that surprise anyone, that figure? Nope. Nope. There is a general, that's not surprising, feel in the room. So around 21% are actively disengaged. That means they hate their job. So nearly a quarter of people actually don't even want to show up for their job. If you want to kind of look at more statistics on this, Gallup do a really good survey every year about employee engagement, and they also do a lot of articles about employee engagement as well. It's well worth looking at their website. So this is all about purpose as well. This is all about how you feel at work, whether or not you're making a difference like Victoria. It's crucial to how we feel about getting up in the morning and how we go about our daily lives. So it's absolutely essential, even though only 5% of us actually think that. And I think it's increasingly important because of this. Because we're now at a stage where we have 5 generations of people who are all working together. Now, if you imagine the people on the left, which is kind of like my parents' kind of age, nobody cared about whether you enjoyed your job, or whether it was purposeful, or whether it had meaning. Okay? You went to work, you did your job, you earned your money, and you went home. Yeah? And nodding heads from people my age. Yeah. So you've got that extreme on the left, people who just think work is just about earning money to pay the bills. And on the right, we have so many people now who will only want to work at something that has meaning. Not surprising, you know? Climate change, all this stuff. You know, this is really, really important now for people. Our jobs and our roles, for a lot of younger people in particular, have to have a purpose, a meaning. So it is really important. How'd you find it? Yay, this is the bit you came for. God, thank God he's got to that bit. How do you find your purpose? Well, there's one theory. I have no idea how I'm doing on time, by the way. How am I doing on time? Anyone?
11. Half an hour.
Excellent. That's good. I think I'm about halfway through. Did I get these words right? Anyone German? No? What's the word on the right? What language is that? What language is the one on the right? Yes! Well done. Welsh. Come on, people. It's Welsh, okay? So this is often how we hear about purpose. It's like an epiphany. I suddenly woke up one day and, oh my God, I knew what I wanted to do. You hear that, don't you? Well, that's in our kind of culture. It's like, oh yes, today I'm going to be an astronaut. I didn't realize before, but now I know I'm going to be an astronaut. And there are some people for whom this is true. So when I was preparing this, I kind of looked at somebody who may have had an epiphany. And I found this guy, really interesting guy. He was also called Ken. Yay. He does a TED talk. If you have a look at his TED talk, it's interesting. He said he was standing in the shower one day. And he was standing in the shower and he was thinking about all of the water that was just going down the drain. And he had worked in Africa, but he was at home at the time in America, and he was watching this water and he was just going, this is insane. All the water I'm wasting, which could be in Africa. And he set up a charity called Water is Life, which has managed to get billions of liters of clean, fresh water to African projects. So he did have a moment, something where everything just went, that's it. So he did have an epiphany. It can happen. But what I actually think, this next slide is the most important slide, okay? Got your attention. The next slide is the most important slide of this whole session. Okay, there is a moment in Friends. Chandler and Joey live together. Who remembers this episode? Yes. So they're having an argument. So Joey goes back to the flat, the apartment, and he puts on all of Chandler's clothes. And then he starts doing some exercises to make them sweaty. Okay? And then he also mimics Chandler's voice, his New York voice. Could I be wearing any more clothes? And I think this is what life is like for most of us. Okay? Why, Ken? Because we're all actually going around with what our parents told us, what we were told at school, when we were told we would never be anything, when we decided to become a profession because our dad thought it was a good idea. So we are carrying around all these layers. Okay? Do me a favor, actually. Has anyone got a jacket or a coat on? Do you mind just taking that off? Just literally take it right. Okay. That is everything your teachers ever said to you. Okay? That is the last time you were told off by, I don't know, a relative, okay? Something that you've carried around and carry around in here, where you're telling yourself all the time, oh, I'll never be any good. I'll never get another job. All of these things that we carry around with us, okay? And I think this is why finding purpose is so hard. Because we've got all this other stuff, okay? The real Joey is underneath there, okay? The real Joey, the acting Joey, the funny Joey, he's underneath all those clothes, okay? So whatever you're looking for today and whatever brought you here today, okay, is underneath all of that stuff. It may be that you fear failure. It may be that you're doing a job that your parents expected you to do. Whatever those beliefs are that we're all carrying around all the time, that's why it's so hard to get to what you think your purpose is. Because we've got baggage. And it weighs us down just like these clothes weigh down Joey. How is that landing?
Makes sense.
Makes sense. Yeah? Good. Remember that slide, even if you fall asleep for the rest of it. So here's some other suggestions. These aren't mine. These are just different ideas. Other ways of finding purpose. Through love of family, love of another person, love for helping others. Quite often there's a group of people that we particularly want to help. Perhaps they've experienced something the same as us, and we're passionate about wanting to help those people. Through suffering. Has anyone heard of Viktor Frankl? Viktor Frankl, Man's Search for Meaning. Okay, Viktor Frankl was in a Nazi prison camp. He lived through the Holocaust. And his whole story is about how, even under those circumstances, he still found meaning in life. And he still found meaning in humanity. And quite often you will see people who've been through some terrible thing who will suddenly find their purpose in that. So suffering is a route to purpose. I worked with someone who was paralyzed. She fell off a horse. But she was so determined to keep doing, or to be who she wanted to be. She walked a marathon in 3 days. She now rides a motorbike, and she now flies a plane. And she's paralyzed, and the doctors have told her she'll never walk again. Extraordinary woman. Through suffering. And I think this third one is most of us. Through activity, through trying stuff out, through doing that job that you hated for 5 years. All of these things, action, activity, most of these things are most of the ways that we find purpose. So it's a bit of trial and error. It's a bit of kind of working through. It's coming here today is part of that activity. Oprah. Oprah has some words of advice. Everybody knows who Oprah is? Yes, Ken. Oprah says you need to ask yourself 3 questions. What do I want to achieve? Why do I do what I do? Not what, why. Why do I do what I do? What will I do with the rest of my working life? So some suggestions of 3 simple things to ask of yourself. And then just some things that I've found useful in coaching and working with people, some useful questions. When am I the best version of myself? When does that happen? What comes easy to me? There will all be things that you think are really easy that actually everybody else goes, oh, you're really good at that. Does that kind of sound true? And you just to think, well, yes, but that's easy. It may not be easy for someone else. And those are part of your identity, part of your purpose, because what's easy for you, you can take to the world. And you can help other people. So what comes easy to me? What brings me joy? Love that one. I'm going to throw this around. What brings you joy?
Wine and food.
Wine and food. Love it. What else? Traveling. Perfect. What else?
Family
Family
and friends.
and friends. What else?
Family and friends. The cereal.
Family and friends. Yep. The TV series. Yeah.
Helping others.
Helping others. Fundamental to a sense of purpose, I think. Helping others. Yep. They bring you joy. And so, and the point of this is if that's what brings you joy, and this is to your point, if your family brings you joy, why don't you see enough of them? If that's what brings you joy. Oh, big question, Ken. Oh, you don't understand, my job's so hard. I've got so many emails. If it brings you joy, prioritize it. That's too easy, that was too simple. It's not. It's not necessarily easy, but it is simple. Okay, if it brings you joy, prioritize it. Who do I want to be? So, this is a really difficult question to answer because we're so used to thinking about what, how, when, to-do lists, all this stuff. People very rarely have an answer to that. Who do I want to be? And again, be is important there because we usually talk about action, acting, doing something rather than just being. So the powerful effect of mindfulness and other things is that they just allow you to be and to just sit with who you actually are without all of the other distractions, because the other distractions are not going to help you to find purpose. Not unless you have a good idea of who it is you actually want to be in the world. Oh, we're getting deep now, aren't we? Okay. Who fancies doing some exercises? Yes, thank God. Right, so you have to stand up and get on the floor. Not really. Okay. Do you all have some paper? Something to write on? If you've got paper, can you put your hand up? Okay, so whoever doesn't have paper, sorry, if you've got paper, can you hand some to someone who doesn't? You don't get this in Lecture Theatre 1, do you? No, they just talk at you. You've got to do some work now. Are you ready? Okay. I want you to think of a moment when you felt fulfilled or satisfied. Everybody knows those words. Just check in, yeah. A moment, any time in your life, from childhood to now, any time, could be at work, might not be at work. A moment when you felt most fulfilled or satisfied. What specifically were you doing? Okay, In as much detail as you can remember, what were you doing? What did you feel? And what made it meaningful for you? Okay. So some people are writing, some people are thinking, some people are texting. Come to this session, it's really great. Okay. Who has one they would be prepared to share? Thank you. Actually, shall I give you a microphone? Just tell us your name, first of all.
Okay, my name is Sophie.
Mm-hmm.
I was traveling around in Africa about 2 years ago, and it was beautiful nature. I fell in love, and I met a great group of friends there.
Great, okay. And and can you remember a specific moment when you were traveling where you felt satisfied?
Yeah, actually like very, very moments, I think. But I think, well, probably one of the memories I remember most when I was standing at the beach at the sunset or sunrise. It's not even on the beach. It was out in the desert in June 45 in Namibia. We woke up at like 4:30 in the morning to walk up for the sand dunes up there, which was like, it was just so amazing. The views was just amazing, and yeah, all the friends we had around us. It was just, I don't know, I can't really describe the feeling. It just felt really, really good.
And what was important about those friendships for you?
I think like we all came from different places, and to sit there, even if we're like so different as people, we just get along so well, and it didn't really matter where we came from or who you actually were back at home. No, we were all just like, we like became a big family.
Okay, so you met some friends who became a big family.
Yes.
And are you still in touch with them?
I am.
Okay, what kind of things do you do now?
Usually, well, even though it's 2 years ago, we have been getting together at least 3 times since then, and we've been doing like some events together since we all live in different places. We just decide like, we try to see each other like twice a year to do stuff. So.
And what's meaningful about that group of people for you?
Well, just the friendships, I guess, like, it's meaningful to have someone to share, like, even if I tell this story back at home, like, people think it's fun for a while, but, like, with them, we, like, when we get together, we can really, really just talk about it, like, no one gets tired of it since we all experienced it. So I guess it's meaningful that we can actually, like, share it together.
And what do you talk about with those friends that you don't talk about at home?
Well, like the trips, we can talk about it like over and over again. Also, like because we have memories that if I would tell someone of you it, you wouldn't like enjoy listening to it as much as they do, since you weren't there. Like, I guess we get each other like in another point of view, or yeah.
Okay, so thank you. Thank you very much. Okay, so what these stories start to do is just start to kind of look at things that are important for you. So just in that short thing, you said that it didn't matter where everybody was from, that you had a shared experience and a commonality of experience with each other, and you've kept that. So for me, that instantly starts to see that that's important for you, and there may be something behind that about being open, about other cultures, about learning from other people. So there starts to be some things there for me that I can start to see some of the values that you have and the values that are important to you just from one story. Okay, so what these stories do is just help you to explore what are the things that are actually important to you. What are your deepest values? Because your experience won't necessarily be the same as someone else's. There's a lot of people who go traveling and just lie on a sunbed. Okay, but for you, those connections, different cultures, was potentially important for you. So, and it's really important that you think as specifically as possible about what was going on and what at that time really made something important for you. Okay, so let's try a different one. And all of these, if I'm working with people in coaching sessions, we'll do about 10 of these stories to then just start to see what are the common things that are coming up in these stories that seem to happen again and again. And it's in those stories that you can start to see things that are important for you. Okay, here's another one. You unfortunately have died. I'm really sorry about that, but you had a good life, okay? So you have died. What do you want to be remembered for? Okay, again, let's just write some of these things down. What do you want to be remembered for? What would you like to be in your funeral speech?
There is a good book about it.
Uh-huh.
Who's gonna cry when you die?
Who's going to cry when you die? I'll look that one up.
Robin Sharma.
Robin Sharman.
The man who sold his Ferrari.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Who's going to cry when you die? I like that. Same thing. Okay, again, quickly, somebody who can share that.
Why is important that? Because
Why is it important? Okay.
why
Oh, right. Okay, this is interesting. Okay, so the question is, if I'm dead, why is it important?
Because you want to leave with the purpose and you want to leave something behind you. You want people to remember you, probably. At least your kids, maybe.
Yes, but that is your ego.
Ooh. Yes. Your ego. Why am I talking into that? I don't know. Yeah. I'll put this down here. I think I love that. That's your ego talking. Yeah. For the purposes of today, the idea is that this really starts to focus on what you think is important. What do you think is important? Because if you were to die tomorrow, what would you not have done? What would you regret? You wouldn't regret anything.
I try to be my purpose every day and the best side of myself every day. So when I did, that was sense.
Okay.
Remember, it's okay for them.
Okay. So there are different views on this, but the exercise is really, if you were to die, what would have been important for you? And what would that say to you about what you now want to do going forward? Okay? Who's going to cry when you die is the book for more on this. Here's one. You're a new character in a TV series. What's special about you? I'm seeing less writing going here. I'm sensing a bit of like, no more exercises. Okay, we're running out of time, so I'm going to speed this up a bit. Here's another option. What superhero would you be? How would you help them? Who would you help? What would you stand for? Can you write your purpose in 6 words? Here's just a few. These have actually come from people who I've worked with. 6 words. Be the impactor of people's goals. Helping people achieve their objectives, helping people to achieve what they want to do was incredibly important to this person, and that summarizes it. Here's just a few more. And you can see how these actually, they may not mean anything to us, but to the person involved, they're incredibly important and incredibly powerful. So help others deliver the wow factor. That was a very, very important thing. And that word wow, it really meant something to them. You remember the word cloud with all of these words, and it's all very complex. That word summed it up for that person. Can I do this? Who's got... Sorry, and just one last one. Try and write your purpose in 140 characters. That's something for the journey home. Okay, I'm going to try this. Who has got on their phone the LinkedIn app? Okay, enough people. So, for those people who do have the LinkedIn app, I should have done this earlier. If you can go to the LinkedIn app now. If you don't have the LinkedIn app, this is a really good thing. Oh, great, I can't access it. This may not work. All right, for those of you involved in events, this is actually a really good thing. I don't know if you've ever done this. So on the LinkedIn app, if you see the icon My Network, and you go onto My Network and you click on the little icon there, you should see those 3 signs. And the one that says Find Nearby, if you turn that to on, you should be able to see other people in the room. Is that working? So is it showing you who is nearby, who is in the room? So you can all connect with each other. And I would too if my thing wasn't broken. It's a good tip if you're running events. So all of the people who are in the same room can all connect with each other. It's good, isn't it? You just need to get the LinkedIn app. We're all taking photos of that, happy with that. And that's me. Look at the size of my face. All right, thank you, everyone. So the important things I'd like you to remember, hopefully, apart from all of my contact details, when Joey had all those clothes on, okay, when you walk out of the door, let's see how many of those limiting beliefs, all those things that are negative about yourself, just see if they will all just fall off like clothes. And underneath, work on some of those exercises about finding your purpose. Or just come and talk to me. That's also a way of doing it. But I've run out of time. Thank you very much. Thank you. No, thank you. No, thank you for your